deportation. A White House official confirmed the president will meet with the members to discuss immigration reform legislation. The caucus had met for an afternoon lunch to vote on a resolution on deportations that have been nearing 2 million under President Barack Obama's watch. Members of the immigrant community and their advocates have been stepping up pressure on Obama to slow or suspend deportations after Republicans put aside advancing immigration reform legislation this year, reported by MSNBC.
And this is a story from ABC News. Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, lashed out at the government for its surveillance practices in a rant on his Facebook page. He said, quote, "When our engineers work tirelessly to improve security, we imagine we're protecting you against criminals, not our own government," unquote. Zuckerman and other major tech CEOs have called the Obama administration to be more transparent about spying efforts. The Facebook co-founder, who was 29 years old, said he vented about his concerns in a phone call to the president. The United States government should be the champions for the internet, not a threat, he said. They need to be much more transparent about what they're doing, or otherwise people will believe the worst. Again, I get the story from ABC News.
Florida lawmakers who want to get rid of the state retirement system were hoping they could divide and conquer, but it does not appear to be working. The police union is vowing to fight efforts to change the Florida retirement system. The House Speaker wants to put new hires into a 401k system instead of the pension plan, and he's trying to win support for the idea by saying it will not apply to first responders like policemen and firefighters. But Fraternal Order of Police President James Preston says no deal. This is a quote from Preston. "We stand with all the Florida retirement system workers in opposition to this bill, not only because all of our public servants deserve to retire with dignity, but also because the closure of FRS to any worker hurts all of us." Preston, who spent 30 years in law enforcement, says they worked hard for their pensions, and state lawmakers should stop messing with the retirement fund, reported by the Florida News Network.
This is a story from ABC News. Conjoined twins born at a hospital in India appear to share everything below their two separate heads, according to hospital officials. Yes, this report is perfectly true that we have delivered a female baby having two heads, as a statement from Dr. Ashish Sehgal, the CEO of Cygnus JK Hindu Hospital, in a statement issued to ABC News. "She is presently alive and healthy," is another quote from that report. The birth occurred Wednesday morning by cesarean section. The mother thought she was only carrying one baby because she was too poor to afford an ultrasound, according to the Asia Cover Press. The twins weighed 5.3 pounds. They will live their life as a two-headed human being, Robin.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Wow.
Got to see that. Just take a look at that picture right there.
Oh,
There's
wow.
the baby.
Oh, my God.
Two heads, one baby. Wow.
Oh. House Speaker John A. Boehner sent an open-ended invitation yesterday asking Pope Francis to address a joint meeting of Congress in what would appear to be a first for a leader of the Roman Catholic Church. This is a quote from Boehner. "It is my honor as a speaker, and on behalf of the bipartisan leadership of the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, to extend to you as head of state of the Holy See an open invitation to appear before and address a joint meeting of the two houses of Congress assembled in the chamber of the U.S. House of Representatives." The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops said it did not know anything about the invitation. The Apostolic Nunciature of the Holy See, which is the Vatican's diplomatic mission to the U.S. government, said nobody was available to comment, reported by the Washington Times.
From CBS News, 6 hecklers were ejected from a town hall with Governor Chris Christie, the Republican governor from the state of New Jersey, after shouting about a political payback scandal that has ensnared his administration. 5 were escorted out yesterday after yelling about the George Washington Bridge scandal scandal and other matters. Police removed the sixth heckler, identified as Rowan University student Michael Breen, after he began shouting about the distribution of Superstorm Sandy aid. The 19-year-old says he's affiliated with the left-leaning Working Family Alliance. After the first heckler interrupted an audience member's question, Christie stopped the questioner and turned to face the heckler and said, quote, "Listen, either sit down and keep quiet or get out, one or the other. We are done with you." Christie said that and received applause from the mostly supportive audience. Again, the story is from CBS.
It's been well over a year since Tracy Dice Johnson lost her spouse to combat in Afghanistan, but she has yet to receive survivor benefits from the Department of Affairs. She misses her most around the holidays, especially St. Patrick's Day, the day they first met, and Valentine's Day, their wedding anniversary. National Guard Staff Sergeant Donna Johnson was killed by a suicide bomber at a checkpoint that she was helping set up in Khost, Afghanistan on October the 1st, 2012. Donna was 29. "There is no timeline on grief," said Tracy, who cries softly when she thinks about that day. She continues to grieve, but it's not recognized by the federal government. 9 months after the Supreme Court cleared the way for same-sex couples to get previously denied federal benefits, Tracy is still waiting to receive veterans' death benefits that military spouses get when they lose a loved one to combat. She has been advised that she may not get the compensation, which run $1,200 a month, because of where she lives in North Carolina, reported by CNN.
And the next story is also from CNN, and it was issued 9 minutes ago. Yet another theory is taking shape about what might have happened to the missing Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. Some say maybe it landed in a remote Indian Ocean island chain. The suggestion, and it's only that at this point, is based on analysis of radar data revealed this morning by Reuters news agency, suggesting that the plane was not just blindly flying northwest from Malaysia. Reuters, citing unidentified sources familiar with the investigation, reported that whoever was piloting the vanished plane was following navigational waypoints that would have taken the plane over the Andaman Islands. The radar data does not show the plane over the Andaman Islands, though, but only on a known route that would take it there, according to Reuters, citing its sources. The theory builds on earlier revelations by U.S. officials that an automated reporting system on the airliner was pinging satellites for hours after its last reported contact with air traffic controllers. That makes some investigators think the plane flew on for hours before truly disappearing. Aviation experts say it's possible, if highly unlikely, that someone could have hijacked and landed the giant Boeing 777 undetected. But Dennis Giles, editor of the Andaman Chronicle newspaper, says there's just nowhere to land such a big plane in his archipelago without attracting notice. Indian authorities own the only 4 airstrips in the region.
If all goes well, the third commercial hop to the International Space Station using the commercial space carrier SpaceX should be on track for a Sunday start. A Falcon 9 with its Dragon capsule payload is set to loft supplies to the orbiting outpost from its Cape Canaveral launch site. The weather outlook is a promising one, and partners are hoping the hardware will cooperate. This trip is the latest in a contract where NASA is the customer to the private company. SpaceX, though, is finding itself far from alone in this field. More companies are joining in. Orbital Sciences was the latest to step up to the mark of commercial cargo operations in low Earth orbit, and others are preparing to follow. The field, with both unmanned ships and crewed flights, promises to get only more energized. That's not all that's happening at the Cape. More hardware for this year's test flight of NASA's Orion capsule has arrived. 2 of the 3 United Launch Alliance Delta IV heavy boosters for the upcoming Exploration Flight Test 1 are being processed after their arrival at Port Canaveral. The core booster and starboard booster are the latest arrivals, to be followed by the port booster and the upper stage next month. Orion is the exploration spacecraft designed to carry astronauts to destinations in deep space, including an asteroid and Mars. It will have emergency abort capability, sustain the crew during space travel, and provide safe re-entry from deep space return velocities. During the upcoming unmanned test of Orion, engineers will test the heat shield to its limits with a simulated return from a deep space run at the anticipated velocities. Data gathered during the flight will help engineers see where the design needs tweaking and how much it costs. This is reported by the Florida News Network.
And from Fox News, American personnel on the ground in Benghazi the night of the 2012 terror attack are outraged after learning that the CIA's Inspector General never conducted an investigation into what happened, despite 2 CIA workers being killed in the attack and despite at least 2 complaints being filed by CIA employees. Former Ambassador Chris Stevens, another state official, and 2 ex-Navy SEALs working for the CIA were killed in that attack. Many in the agency were told or were under the impression that an investigation was in the works, but that was not the case, according to Fox News.
Obamacare's requirement that all Americans carry insurance or face penalties, part of the effort to gain universal coverage, may not be much of a rule at all. Millions of people may be exempt from the requirement known as the individual mandate under rules issued by the Obama administration. Homeless people or homeowners who've been foreclosed upon can apply for an exemption. So can those whose utilities have been shut off, who have suffered domestic violence, or who have experienced a death in their families. In December, the administration said people whose existing health plans had been canceled would not have to comply with the mandate. Last week, the government said that exemption will be extended through 2016. In a catch-all category, anybody who believes they've had a hardship in obtaining insurance can apply for an exemption. Documentation is optional, reported by Bloomberg.
And this is from CNS News. For millions of families in the United States, childcare is their single largest household expense at nearly $15,000 a year. That is a quote from Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid in a statement he made Wednesday in a speech on the Senate floor. He went on to say, quote, "And in an economy where most families have 2 working parents, childcare is not a luxury, it's a necessity," unquote. The Senate yesterday was scheduled to vote on a bill that would amend and reauthorize through fiscal year 2020 the Child Care and Development Block Grant Act of 1990. The program would provide funding to the states for child care subsidies for low-income families, as well as money to improve the quality of child care. Again, the story from CNS News.
An Alaskan moose hunter whose discovery of the corpse of a wanderer 2 decades ago helped lead to the 2007 movie Into the Wild has been shot and killed by police following a weekend chase through the city of Wasilla, Alaska. Police said Gordon E. Samel, age 52, who played a small but important role in author John Krakauer's book about wanderer Chris McCandless, which was made into a movie by Sean Penn, on Sunday fled police who had approached his vehicle in response to a report about possible drunken driving. This is a quote: "As the state trooper knocked on the side of the pickup to contact the occupants, it drove off and circled around several small businesses in the area." This state trooper is quoted as saying that Samuel then led law enforcement officers on a high-speed chase along the city's main thoroughfare, briefly against traffic, and at times into lightly populated residential areas before he was ultimately blocked at an intersection. When a state trooper and a Wasilla police officer approached the truck on foot, Samel backed up the truck toward the officer, prompting both the officer and the trooper to fire their handguns. Samel was declared dead at the scene. A passenger received a non-life-threatening injury to one of his arms and was released without being charged. Samel was among a party of moose hunters who discovered McCandless's corpse in an abandoned bus in a remote part of the Alaska wilderness north of Mount McKinley, reported by Reuters.
Wow. The next one is from ABC News. It was just after 2 a.m. last Saturday in a Staten Island Hilton Garden Inn when a well-dressed woman removed a pair of replica Wizard of Oz ruby red slippers from a display case and then fled with the shoes. Police are trying to identify the thief. The hotel's owner told the Staten Island Advance the slippers were purchased in Paris and are worth $2,500 and were meant to remind guests suggests that there's no place like home. According to the Smithsonian, several pairs of slippers were made for the 1939 movie, and they have a pair that were donated anonymously in 1979. The slippers are one of the most asked about artifacts at the Smithsonian, according to the museum, and as well as on its website. My thought, maybe there was a witch who took them. I don't know.
Yeah. Proponents of the Keystone XL pipeline stressed yesterday that both the United States' role as a world superpower and its ability to influence the fast-moving situation with Russia and Ukraine hinge on whether the Obama administration ultimately signs off on the project. Retired General James Jones, the 32nd Commandant of the Marine Corps and former Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, said Russian President Vladimir Putin will be emboldened if the United States does not build the Keystone XL pipeline. This is a quote, "Energy scarcity is a potent strategic weapon." Mr. Jones testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He continues saying Putin wields energy as a weapon, reported by CBS.
And from UPI News, the European Parliament has voted overwhelmingly to suspend the Safe Harbor Agreement with the United States on data protection. The resolution passed 644 to 78 following a 6-month investigation into the U.S. National Security Agency's activities, according to the London Inquirer. The investigation came in the wake of revelations and documents leaked by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden. The Snowden revelations gave us a chance to react, is a quote, saying, "I hope we will turn those reactions into something positive and lasting into the next mandate of this Parliament, a data protection bill of rights that we can all be proud of." That quote is from Claude Moraes, who represents the London district in the European Parliament and serves as rapporteur for the Civil Liberties investigation.
The former royal editor of Rupert Murdoch's now defunct British tabloid, The News of the World, told a court yesterday that the late Princess Diana had given him a directory of royal phone numbers to get back at her then-husband, Prince Charles. Clive Goodman said the confidential directory, which contained numbers of senior members of Britain's royal household and was delivered to the newspaper's offices in 1992 when Diana was growing increasingly bitter about her husband. Goodman, who was jailed in 2007 for accessing the voicemails of mobile phones belonging to senior royal aides, is on trial, accused of making illegal payments to police officers to obtain telephone directories of the royal household. Police found 15 such directories at Goodman's home when he was arrested in 2006. Asked where a Green Book directory dating from 1992 had come, Goodman told the Old Bailey court, and this is a quote, "It was provided to us by the Princess of Wales. It arrived at the office in an envelope with my name on it." Adding that he did receive a call from Diana later to check that he had received it. Diana formally separated from Charles in December 1992, and the couple divorced in 1996. She was killed the following year in a car crash in Paris. Goodman said she had a close relationship with several journalists, and she wanted to use the press and the News of the World, in particular, as a powerful ally against Charles, reported by Reuters.
That news making Charles squirm, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
This story is from ABC News. Lady Gaga, the entertainer, is known for her distinctive style. She once wore a dress made out of raw beef, but her latest fashion frenzy pulled inspiration from around the house. She wore a frilly outfit made out of coffee filters. She wore the ensemble yesterday on Jimmy Kimmel Live ahead of her performance at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas. The creation, designed by Gareth Pugh, featured a ruffled dress, cape, and giant matching hat complemented by platform shoes. She rode onto the stage in a pedicab. During her appearance on the show, she discussed the rise of her music career and her love of emerging acts, but somehow, as it regularly seems to do, the conversation returned to her clothing. She answered, "I am recycling," she said to Jimmy Kimmel. "You can do anything with your crazy ideas if you put your mind to it."
Sports Illustrated cover model Chrissy Teigen's nudity has caused a bit of a social media stir. She shared a racy image of herself on Instagram without her clothing on with the caption, "Work, ugh, so hard." A fan fired back at the brunette beauty in the comment section, reminding her that she was a married woman and that she should cover up. Find other means of fulfilling your depraved need for attention, according to the user. Teigen, age 28, did not ignore the hater and responded by calling her a Crayola B-H, which was in reference to one of the fans' pictures on their page where they named crayons, reported by the Huntington Post.
And the story from USA Today, Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision to mass forces along East Ukraine's border is another effort to keep Ukraine's new pro-Western government weak and on the defensive, according to analysts. But a Russian incursion into the region would be substantially more difficult than the Russian experience so far in Crimea. There would be a different response in Ukraine from there. And then there would be in Crimea, said Stephen Pfeiffer, a former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine and senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. Russians would likely face resistance from Ukraine's military and a population less supportive than they are in Crimea, which is majority ethnic Russian. The Russian military would ultimately defeat the much smaller and lightly equipped Ukrainian military, but it would raise the stakes greatly.
In an increasingly interconnected world, children are more at risk than ever of being sexually exploited or sold. A United Nations independent expert is warning today, calling for decisive steps at the global level to stop crimes such as child prostitution and trafficking. This is a quote from Najat Amal-Mihad, the special rapporteur on the sale of children, child prostitution, and child pornography. Millions of girls and boys worldwide are victims of sexual exploitation, even though this issue in recent years has gained increased visibility. This was presented by her in her final report to the 25th session of the Human Rights Council, which opened last week and is to wrap up on March 28th, reported by UN News.
And we will wrap up NewsBites with this announcement from the Ocala-Marion County Chamber and Economic Partnership. They are inviting you to attend a ribbon cutting this afternoon at the Red Rhino Sports Bar and Grill here in Ocala. The ribbon cutting will be at 4:30. Red Rhino Sports Bar and Grill is at 618 South Pine Avenue, and they are also wanting me to announce that there is a Tuesday talk on Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. and again at 4 p.m. It's called Supervisor. It'll be in the CEP boardroom. If you're interested in finding out how your business can be part of the Ocala-Marion Chamber and Economic Partnership, give them a call at 629-8051, extension 112. We'll take, Robin, how many stars did we get in there
24.
today? 24. We will take a little break and we'll be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. Malaysian investigators say hijacking is a possibility in the disappearance of a passenger jet in the face of evidence that somebody manually disabled 2 tracking devices and the plane flew 4 more hours. It was a takeoff aborted for a U.S. Airways flight when its nose gear collapsed at Philadelphia's airport, sending the plane skidding to a stop. More than 100 passengers jumped to safety from wing exits and emergency chutes. Oscar Pistorius' lawyers are putting the police on trial at his South African murder trial, questioning the investigation. One official told of an officer mishandling the weapon without gloves. The Olympic sprinter claims he accidentally killed his girlfriend. The worst air pollution in Paris in 6 years has turned the skies to a murky yellow, but it's giving commuters a break. Public transportation is free for the next 3 days. Nearly 3/4 of the country is under alert. The patience and tolerance of Facebook friends are being put to the test today as the social network salts in 15-second autoplay advertisements. The key word here, autoplay. This is ABC News.
Do you know what that sound is? That's your new digital marketing department. And that'll be your new web designer. And that's Haibu, where these experts are joined by many more, from web designers to search marketing specialists, who work hard to get your business noticed online and on mobile. Best of all, Haibu can do it all for you, or give you the tools to do it yourself. To find out more, go to haibu.com. That's HIBU.com, or call 877-938-HIBU. Oh, that'll be your next new customer. Haibu, made for business.
Okay, you ready? I'm gonna let go of the bike now.
Wait, not yet, Dad.
No, just keep pedaling. You've got it.
Don't let go, don't let go.
There are moments in life that cause us to hesitate.
I already did. You're doing it.
Woohoo! I'm doing it.
But once we take action, we're awfully glad we did. Markets are changing, and interest rates are still low. If you're thinking about getting into the real estate market, now may be the time to make your move. Every market's different. Call a Realtor today and visit Realtor.com. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
The weather is brought to you by MyFWC.com. Life jackets save lives. Wear it, Florida. Today, a cool start, otherwise mostly sunny and becoming quite nice during the afternoon.